Here's a great landscape painting that's perfect to practice your evergreen trees this season. So first, grab a mop brush, and I'm going to use a really dark navy blue and a regular blue together and do back and forth strokes all across my entire canvas. This is going to be your background. I'm using 12 by 12 textured cardstock, but you can use whatever kind of canvas you'd like. And once you have it completely covered, make sure to dry it so we can layer on some snow. With a clean mop brush and some white paint, pretend you're going sledding and create a hill starting on the left side of your canvas and swooping it down to the right side. Notice how I'm also dipping into a tiny bit of my background color. We don't want our snow to be completely white because it would have some shading and shadows in it. So blend in a tiny bit of that blue as well as you're doing that swooping motion. Ooh, looks like a fresh snowfall. Now dry that and we can start planting some trees. Start with a detail brush and some dark green and do a couple guidelines. These are going to show where the trees are and how tall they're going to be. I'm going to do 4 of them. So I did 1, 2 on the left side. I'm going to have a tiny one here that's down further in the snow. And let's do a really tall one over here on the right. Try to make sure they're all different heights like that. Okay. Now to do our evergreen trees, we're going to use the fan brush method. This is, in my opinion, one of the easiest ones to do if you're just starting out. And we're going to dip it into some dark green paint, just the tip. And to start, the trick is to hold it horizontally like this and start bouncing it. This is just a bouncing brush stroke going back and forth with the guideline in the middle. And as you're going up the guideline, you're moving in kind of a zigzag pattern, going back and forth. And remember the shape of a Christmas tree while you do this. It should go up to a point like a tall triangle. You can even turn it vertically at the tip to get that point. Then, without washing off the fan brush, grab some white paint and you can add snow. See how dark it is against that dark blue? We want to brighten it up. So doing the same brush stroke, just maybe not as much, start bouncing up the guideline again. Don't cover the green completely, but highlight all those different branches like that. Same thing, going up to that point and then turning it vertically at the top for the tip. So that's the technique we're going to practice today. And we're going to get a lot of practice because we have to do all those other guidelines that we added in the beginning. So let's do this one here. He's going to be a little shorter. We're doing the same thing, back and forth bouncing across that guideline up to the top. And what you can do is you can kind of turn the fan brush still horizontally and use the edge to get the tip a little bit pointier and then turn it vertically to get that fine point like that. And then don't forget to grab your white paint for some snow. Again, you don't have to clean off your fan brush or dry your trees. You can just keep going. Don't cover the green completely, but do the same brush stroke, bouncing it up the guideline. And when you get up to the tip, turn it so that it's still horizontal, but you're using the edge. Makes that tinier at the top, and then a vertical tap. There. It really is fun once you get the hang of it. That's why I love paintings like this, because it's just practicing the same thing over and over. Another tip I forgot to mention is make sure your brush handle is tilted down towards you. You don't want it tilted up or your branches are going to look like smiley faces instead of drooping down or out. It would be heavy because of the snow on them. So always have it tilted downward ever so slightly. Now for this tiny tree, I'm actually going to tint my snow with more green than the others. That's because I want him to stand out. This is the one I'm going to decorate for Christmas. Have you ever decorated a tree outside in the snow? It's so much fun. So that's what we're going to do in this painting. Can you see the difference compared to the others? The white is just a darker green. Now for this big tree over here on the right-hand side, I'm really going to have my brush handle tilted down because I want to get maximum brush stroke coverage because these tree branches are really big. You may need to go back and shape it more as you go because it is bigger. Don't worry if it goes off your canvas. Mine are going off my tape line slightly. That's okay. Turn it at the top for the vertical tap. And then we're going to add a lot of snow to this tree because it's so big as well. And it's against that dark blue, so we want to make sure it stands out. Something like this. This fan brush has a fun texture. It's a synthetic bristle, so it holds up to the paint. Make sure you're not using soft bristle brushes like watercolor fan brushes because it's not going to give you as much texture. But play around with it. Use whatever fan brushes you have. I've learned that fan brushes have different personalities. This is just the one I prefer. So I even went in and added some brighter snow to that one. See how that really stands out? I love it. Okay. Make sure to dry it. Now, the bottoms of your trees may look a little funny, so guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to grab more snow color on my mop brush with some of that blue, and let's do one big swooping motion underneath all these trees just to clean it up. That just does something extra. Kind of sad I lost the bottom of that tiny one. I want to decorate it, so if you do that, I really think it needed that, but I'm actually going to dry it and then go back in and add the bottom of that little tree again. That's okay. You can change your mind as you go, but this one I want to really stand out as the centerpiece. Okay, we have this big blank snowbank over here on the left, so let's practice one more tree. I did a guideline that's really tall. It goes up in between those two top trees, and the same exact brush stroke going up, shaping it as you go. Now, if you're sick of trees at this point and you're like, I really didn't want to do another tree, I thought I was done, you could add whatever you want here. You could add like a snowman, you could add a winter cabin, you could even do something fun like a candy cane or a gingerbread man like we've done in other paintings. That's entirely up to you. Make it your own. And I'm also going back and adding snow to this one. Notice how it kind of disappeared up there in between those other trees. So really make the snow bright up there so it stands out. Like that. And shape it as needed. He's a nice looking tree. You could decorate this one too for Christmas, or you could decorate all the trees. That's entirely up to you as well. But I really want this one over here to stand out. So let's make the bottom a little wider. I brought him down in between the two big ones. And then let's add some Christmas lights. I'm going to take a detail brush and start with a darker shade of the Christmas light I want. And then make some larger dots all throughout. That's going to be the halo. And then to make it look like they're turned on, I'm going to take some yellow mixed with some white and add a dot in the middle of that larger dot. So looks like the Christmas lights are off and then it looks like I'm turning them on. I'm also going to take some darker red ones and then add some bright red and white mixed together to turn those on as well, just adding a tiny circle in the middle of that larger circle. There we go. See how it looks like they're turning on? That's so much fun. Now let's see, we have red, yellow, green wouldn't really stand out, but why don't we do blue lights? So let's add some larger blue circles all throughout. And then I mixed a tiny bit of the blue with some white, and then let's turn those on as well. Tiny little dots in the side of each. You could even go all out and add some tinsel or some larger ornaments. I've even seen people add things like birds or cardinals to the branches, so that's entirely up to you if you want to add that much detail. Once I have all of my lights turned on, I'm even going to take a toothpick so I can have the tiniest dot possible and just use pure white paint to add a third dot in each. Super subtle detail, but it makes all the difference. I'm even going to take one of my nail art detail brushes to get a fine little tiny star at the very top. So I just did a plus sign with an X through it. And let's make that connected to the tip of the tree a bit more. And let's do a dot of white in the middle. There we go. Now you could call it there and be done, but I think my snow looks too plain. So taking a large round brush with some snow color and some navy, let's add some shadows to the bottoms of our trees because we're going to have a bright moon in the sky. So underneath each of my trees, I'm going to do some back and forth brush strokes and bring those brush strokes down and out so it goes to a point, almost like a triangle going the opposite direction. Starts wider at the base of the tree and goes down to a point. I would start with just a tiny bit of the navy and then make it darker as you go. So see, I blended it with more white and then I'm going back in and adding more navy to make it darker. If you do too much, don't worry, you can always blend it back in, but since the moon is going to be so big, I want these shadows to stand out. And for final touches, let's do the big moon. It's going to be a big full moon, so I have a large round pouncer and some white paint. Use it like a stamp, press down, twist, and pull up. I love it. And if you wanted to have a shadow, you can even dip it into a bit of that navy on the edge. And look, how you add a shadow is you press down again and twist that little bit of navy around it. Ooh, and you see that gives you just a tiny shadow on the moon right there. And you thought I was going to forget snow, didn't you? Of course I need to add my splatter snow. You don't have to do that. You could use a toothpick and add stars. You don't have to have anything at all, but I just like to do my splatter. There we go. And there's my finished painting. It reminds me of the song Silent Night. I've been singing that in my head the entire time while painting this. So if you try it, I'd love to see how it turns out and have fun. Happy painting and have a great weekend, everybody.